Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio Success Express show. Every fourth Wednesday we get to talk with Ward. Ward-Heinrichs is a San Diego employment attorney. In fact, he's known as the best employment attorney. Just go to his website, bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. But he's been on our show for years, and it's time to have a monthly segment because things are changing all the time, not only with COVID laws, but it is changing all the time. So today he's talking about a brand new bill, an assembly bill. We just learned that AB actually means assembly bill. 257, it's called the Fast Recover Act for fast food workers. So you can see his article up on blendradioandtv.com. But welcome back, Ward. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. It's been beautiful here in California until today. We got a little rain and we really need it. So yeah everything's good. Nothing.
Well, listen, that rain, we want it, but can it just hold off so we can have clear passage to go through California up into Washington State? We need clear passage.
I'll put in a word with you with the rain gods. No problem.
Please do.
Okay,
listen, for everyone watching this on Zoom, our Zoom recording here on YouTube or Facebook, we are in a sea of French fries. If you get the opportunity to put yourself in a sea of French fries, I say you do. For it. By the time we end this recording and conversation, I think all three of us are going to run out and get French fries. But I had to do this.
Donald's bound.
I know, but this Fast Recover Act is really interesting. So this is really something that is for the employees, right? This is about the workers. And what I find interesting is it's a California thing right now, but it seems like unions are coming back very strong. Like I'm not saying a comeback, but Amazon, all these big companies are facing, hey, unions coming together, people going, we're not happy with this. Should we start a union? And I wonder if this is kind of a bill to kind of before a union thing happens. You know what I mean?
Well, that's one reason why California went to this. And first of all, it hasn't been passed yet. Just want to make sure everyone understands that. It's an assembly bill and it's going to go to the Senate. And then if that passes there, then the governor, I would assume, will sign it. But, we'd have to see. But the reason why they went down this road where they have legislation and they appoint a council to tell that area of the economy, which is fast food restaurants in this case, what they need to do, what they need to pay, what the working conditions are like, all that stuff, control it. And the reason they did this, or one reason is, and the main reason is that they don't think unions are growing at all. In fact, they've contracted over the years, and that most unions are public unions, with school teachers, firemen, policemen, things like that. And the number of people in private sector unions is down to like 7% of all the workforce. So it's really a low number right now historically. And what I've looked at, it doesn't look like it's going to, mushroom anytime soon in the private sector. So this is California's answer to that.
Okay. I remember when we had a band years ago in California, in San Diego, and we were interviewing drummers, and this drummer walked in and he goes, are you going to pay me to be for his audition? Are you going to pay me? And I'm like, this is an audition.
That was so funny.
I'm with the union. I'm with the musicians union. I'm like, this is an audition.
We don't care.
We don't pay for auditions. He's like, I'm a union member. And I'm like, well, there's the door. And I didn't mean it against the union thing, but it was like, this badge of honor he wore, but I swear to God, I haven't met a musician that's proudly wearing a badge of musicians union like this guy was. And I don't know, maybe we were supposed to pay for auditions, but I don't think Hollywood does that with actors, do they? Because they would really have double the roll call.
Well, boy, because that industry probably has specific rules that are very different than the rest. But generally, you can do tryout time as long as it's not performing work for you. So for instance, if you have someone who you want to do general secretarial stuff around the office. And you go, hey, type this newspaper article for me, and I want to see how fast you type it. That's okay, because you're not going to benefit from someone typing a newspaper article. If you go, hey, type this letter for me, then you're crossing the line. So in your case, I'm going to guess that's a true tryout, probably. You just want to hear you drum, take 5-10 minutes. But I don't know if that union has different rules, or if that sector of the economy has a different rules.
I don't know, but it didn't work out, did it?
No, well, as soon as we started talking that way, we went bye-bye.
Yeah.
Plus, he pretty much sucked as a drummer.
And so I don't even know if we got him to play.
No,
we
it's
always
like,
had trouble with drummers, man.
Yeah,
always
because
drummers.
they're
Sorry.
not, yeah.
They're
different.
different.
Friends are drummers.
Drummers
They
are
are.
different.
They're different. But
yeah, well,
when he said he wanted to do a tryout or an audition, wouldn't that be the time to say, but I need to get paid for it? Because if he had said that, we would have said, don't bother.
Yeah.
Well, probably. I mean, you're talking about negotiation style now. I don't know what rules govern this. If it's the normal rule, you don't have to pay him, because he's trying out. He's not going to produce anything for you.
I mean,
but in terms of negotiation, he probably should have done that up front.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's not like he played in front of our audience.
No,
it was a simple tryout, and
it's a tryout. It's true tryout.
But that's what's interesting about the union thing, is there's this belief system of they're going to save me no matter what, and unions are difficult. And I'm not saying they're bad at all, because I mean, they served a huge purpose with kids. I mean, look at England. I think England even started the unions, right, with the coal workers and the kids in the coal mines, and
the guilds, I think, were the start of that.
There's things that really needed to be there for human rights. I mean, they really needed them.
Well, absolutely.
So, civil rights, I mean, that's still a huge thing with unions. I mean, because of that. But this is interesting how things are going into more the legal path instead of, the unions. But I don't think the unions have a leg to stand off unless you have, or stand on, I should say, unless you have the actual legal stuff, right? So if this, with this bill, and we should talk about what the bill entails, goes through, if someone breaks the law, then the unions can stand up, right? Or no? Yeah, what's the difference between you and a union, Ward?
Between me and a union?
That's kind of when do you call a union versus an attorney? Yeah, that's an actual really good question.
Oh, I see. All right. So if you're in a union, they're going to have a collective bargaining agreement with the employer or the sector of the economy that they are union for. So in that collective bargaining agreement, they will have grievance procedures and other types of procedures that you're supposed to use to take care of issues. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go right to court if you don't want to. It kind of depends on the issue and depends on what the agreement says about those issues. Sometimes you do have to, what we call exhaustion. You have to do X before you can go to court. That's what exhaustion really is. Where you need an attorney, though, is if you do go to court. So maybe you've exhausted all your remedies with the union through the union agreement and the union process. Now you're still not satisfied. You still feel like the man got you. So now you want to talk to an attorney and say, hey, is there any way we can sue? And the attorney is going to have to look at that and make sure everything's exhausted and that you have a remedy for it. But assuming so, then that's when you need an attorney. But I have represented people in grievances. I don't do it very often. I would say it was very informal the way it ended up working. But it doesn't mean that you won't need an attorney even through a grievance process. However, the union is supposed to represent the worker,
right?
And then the business has its own representatives during that process. So there's still representation, but you might want an attorney in that case. But less likely, wants to dip into their pocket. You might have to dip in your pocket for it.
But the business needs to probably have an attorney, right? If they're the if like it's a grocery store chain or a fast food chain, let's stick to fast food.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When a union comes, like you're going to have to say, okay, I'm going to come represent my client, and And so that's where you get called too, right?
Well, it's gonna, yeah, and it's gonna depend on the issue. If it's not a very
Mm.
complicated issue, they might want to handle it themselves. But if it gets kind of complicated, they definitely would do themselves a service.
Just,
getting a hold of an attorney.
just even for reading legal language, sometimes you really do need someone to interpret what they're actually talking about.
Like
you know?
seriously, it's like reading the Bible,
I
dude.
mean, and so it
You
doesn't
need some of this
just,
stuff.
I know when you have an attorney, it doesn't always mean you're going to go to court or you're going to go fight. But sometimes if you can't understand a piece of paper that you've been asked to sign, it's a good idea to take it to an attorney
Yeah,
before you sign it.
I do a fair amount of that where people say,
Mm.
I have a release agreement or a settlement agreement, a
Mm.
severance pay agreement, something like that. For both sides, both employers
Yeah.
and employees will call me about that kind of thing. And I'll review it and tell them what I think. So yeah, I do that a fair amount.
Mm.
That's interesting.
That's
So yeah, let's get to the fast, I want to say the fast track. Let's get on the fast track. But this fast act, this for fast food workers. So let's go to what is the goal of this? How is it supposed to help workers? And then we get into like, because it apparently is different for the size of the franchise, and like it's interesting about that.
Right. It's not for all fast food restaurants necessarily. They have to qualify, but we'll get into that in a second. I mean, your first question is, why is this needed? I think is what you're asking.
Yeah, and what is it? How is it going to help a fast food worker? What?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it goes back to that idea of that there isn't much union representation out there in the private sector. And further, because I read most of the statute on this, and I don't always read all the statute. Sometimes I read a summary, but this one I just went through because I was really interested in it. And it even says that one of their purposes is to help a sector of the industry that really needs help. Paraphrase. And they say that, there's too much turnover in this industry. It's really hard. They've tried unionizing it. And I'm not saying the legislature has, but the unions have tried to get unions in there and it hasn't worked very well. They do every once in a while, maybe get one store to unionize. I mean, there was an article back in, I think it was like November or October about a Starbucks in, I think it was New York that did unionize. I think it was Buffalo. But other ones didn't fall in line. So you get one store and, the unions aren't that happy with getting one store.
But that's what happened with
Amazon
in Alabama. Alabama, they thought they could get, if they could get this one, I think it was Birmingham. I don't want to say it, but it was in Alabama. If they could get this one group of people in Alabama and they were having meetings and they just all chickened out at the end. Like the actual employee said, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm scared of my job. And I think that's the other thing why some of the unions are scared is, or not, the employees are scared to unionize because they're worried they're going to get fired.
They're going to lose their job. But isn't that against the law?
Well, no, you can fire people, but you can't fire people because they wanted to
join a union,
discuss conditions in the work, and especially union stuff. Because there's a federal law that protects that.
Yeah.
And so, firing someone for
they sent a memo out saying, they sent a memo out.
But you could make up another reason.
But they sent out a memo, and I don't know if this was Bezos or now another story. It could have even been the Starbucks one where they got kind of pissy and said, we could have handled this in-house. We need to handle it in-house before you go play union. And if you got grievances, you need to do it here first. We don't need the bad PR because no matter what, unions bring bad PR to a company. That's one of the things you don't want to be involved in, right? Is that negative press. And isn't that also part of don't you as an attorney want to kind of squish it down before it comes into a full-blown media circus for a client? If your client's a business, is to protect them?
Well, in this instance, when you're talking about union and maybe unions attacking a company and really trying to get their claws in there, and I don't mean anything negative about that, but that's, they're really trying to force the company's hand. That's press that no one really wants. Now, can you protect them, maybe you can. I don't know. That's usually like national stuff, and I don't
Class
really do.
action kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I do class actions, or I have done class action. I used to do a lot of them, but this is more like national unionization, big,
Okay.
Starbucks, Amazon, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
I
So, but the
remember
fast
it ha-
food. Okay, go ahead. I was going to say
Okay, I
the
was gonna-
fast food. Go ahead, Nancy.
I was going to say, I remember having a conversation with a hotel restaurant owner we had a conversations about unions, and she said, you just can't work them like you used to be able to work them. Speaking of her employees, and it was because of the unions. And, just when she said that, I was looking at her like, oh, now I see why we need unions sometimes.
You need,
Because
why
you
she has
can't
so much
work them.
turnover too.
Yeah, exactly. You can't work them like you used to. That was her what she said. It was like, so you mean you now have to pay a fair wage? You now have to give them a safe place to work, and you can't yell at them all the
You
time.
can't work them 20 hours a day and not
Yeah.
pay them. You know what I
But
mean? So she's going from ancient
20
times to now.
hours a day and not paying them.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
maybe in Uganda.
yeah, but you know what I mean?
No,
Well,
but
it's
I
kind of,
mean,
this is,
like
hey, this is
her-
like the garment industry where you talked about the piece,
Well-
and like how these people are working gazillion hours, and
Mhm.
here's your $10 for 12, 20 hours. That's insane. But that's kind of
Right.
when you think about
No,
the
that-
hotel industry and the restaurant industry, it's been like one of the hardest jobs is being a housekeeper in a hotel. Like, I bow down and like,
Mhm.
please just always tip, man. That is just one of the hardest jobs on the planet. And you see everything. I think every housekeeper could write a
Um,
book about what they find in hotel rooms.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyway,
No,
but
for sure.
fast food, I think this is really huge. There is issues. There are issues that they're facing. There are people on how, shift change, etc. There is a safety issue in working in
Mhm.
fast food, especially,
Mhm.
how many people go through drunk at night? It's like, I need to soak up some food before I have to go to work in the morning, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a safety issue. There's all kinds of, sexual harassment. Are you getting paid enough? It used to be
Mhm.
years ago, back in the day when you could work them. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone, that was just a joke. Sorry. Terrible. Oh, look at Cat's coming to say hi and eat the fries.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Bye-bye.
Cat wants a fries. There was, a lot of sexual harassment, but it was really kids that were working.
Mm.
Just kind of like you'd see in Walmart. It would be kids bagging in grocery stores.
Mhm.
You kids bagging your groceries. And now we see a whole different elder generation doing it. And you see a little bit of all generations working in fast food. And for some people, that is their main job. And so we have this change. And I think that's maybe part of why they have this, is that people
Yeah,
are
we're-
living off of this. This isn't pocket money.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the position that California really has taken. They're saying, hey, look, this is one of these sectors of the economy, one of these business areas that pays not great. I mean, it's really minimum
Slow.
wage.
Yeah.
Minimum wage.
Mhm.
And there are people who are trying to make it on this minimum wage. So that's the position California's taken. They've also said that, it's hard to get that group to come together and unionize because there's a lot of turnover, et cetera, et cetera. So they're saying, we think that we need something in charge. This council is what they've talked about, being in charge to help make the working conditions better. That's really the bottom line on it.
Is it about minimum wage too? Would minimum wage be higher for them? Is it about,
Could be.
cleanliness? So they're just at the beginning of creating this whole bill.
Yes. And, I mean, our minimum wage in California has gone up pretty drastically. So I don't think that's as big a problem. I mean, next year it's going to be $15 an hour for everyone, no matter where you work. Oh, hold on. No. It's 2 years from now, 2023. It's going to be $15 an hour for everyone throughout California. But they may say, well, we think in this sector that people should get more than minimum wage. So, the state minimum wage. So we'll just have to see. And again, I'm not sure this is going to pass, The last time it did, it was a bill last year. Lorena Gonzalez, who quit as a legislator and is, let's see,
Oh, I
I think
remember
she's
that.
working
Yeah.
for something like a union or some worker type organization. I don't remember exactly what it was. But she started this and they didn't get it out of the assembly by 3 votes. So pretty close. I'm going to guess they'll get their 3 votes this year, and then it's really going to be up to the Senate and the governor to see what they do with it. But I just have a feeling that this will probably pass in some form. You know, what the final form is, I'm not sure, but that's my guess on it.
So, and
So-
then it's really for there's the small business owner that could be doing fast food. Then in like San Diego, you've got In-N-Out Burger that people will travel across borders to get to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The classic In-N-Out Burger. They've got the big ones, McDonald's. There are small fast food chains, and we go to different areas that maybe 5 or 6, in Arizona or something like that. Or let's go back to California. So like Southern California may have a chain that's only 6 to 7. Is this gonna do something to them, or do you have to be the big national franchise owner that this is going to affect?
Well, it's geared toward the bigger ones, but it may get some smaller ones because the cutoff is, do you have 30 or more individual stores under the franchise label or with a franchise consistent style, color, arrangement of all the kitchens, whatever they do. So if it's one of those 2 things, either it's a label, it's a brand. So McDonald's brand, that's a brand. Everyone knows that. But if you have fewer than 30 stores, then you would not fall under this law. You wouldn't be controlled by it. But the minute you get the 30th store and you are a brand that everyone can say that's a brand, they've got 30 stores, or if you have a common way of doing business, I guess is the best way to describe it. That's franchise, passed down from a franchise. Then yes, then you would be. So they don't have to be huge. They don't have to be huge. And it's throughout the nation, 30 stores throughout the nation.
So this could go national, even if some small part of this gets passed. This is something that could end up being national. You know what I mean? Like McDonald's is national, international.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, McDonald's will in California, assuming this passes, will have to do what the council says. Now, I want to back up. The council doesn't have total control. They have to tell the legislature what they're proposing. And then the legislature has 60, I know they have to tell them within 60 days, I think it is. And then the legislature has another 60 days to figure out.
Jesus,
if they
no
wanna
wonder nothing
do
gets
anything
done
with
in
it.
politics.
And if they don't do anything, then it is the law.
So what happens to
Oh,
hotels
wait.
who
So if they
have
don't
a
do anything,
restaurant?
wait. If they don't
Yeah.
do anything, it becomes law. So if the legislator doesn't move on it, it just automatically becomes law.
Yeah.
Well, there's no objection.
So if someone's sleeping at the wheel, like it could
Yeah.
happen.
So wake
Wow,
up
that's
your
why things are always happening on weekends, holiday weekends. That when they
Yeah.
wanted to close California state parks, 2/3 of them, they did it on like a Memorial Day weekend, or it was like they just mentioned it, and it was one of these quiet things. And we did all kind. It was way back when, like I think it was when we first started our shows. We got like some senator got bamboozled on like. He got so many faxes and he was all interested in this. Nancy contacted him. We called their office to do a show and he says, "Oh, he will not come on your show. We had to pull our fax machine off from what you did. Goodbye." And I'm like, well, screw you. You're supposed to take that. You're supposed to take the information from your constituents. You're not supposed to pull your, this, like I said, this was a long time ago. Fax machines, who has one? But, so it was like this, I mean,
He
but
got
they do it on
inundated.
these weekends, so nobody notices. And so that is why. So if someone is asleep, it could just.
I don't think that'll be a problem here. Honestly, I think there's going to be enough noticed and everyone's going to be paying attention. Because this is big stuff.
This is a big
I mean,
one.
the whole industry is going to say, is California going to screw us again? And they'll be looking.
Yeah.
So
Don't
you worry
like,
about
and
it.
Arizona will say, come move over.
But I like what happens with like the chain hotels who have within themselves a restaurant. I mean, they have tables and chairs. It's a separate room. You can go get food there, even though the food normally is free because you paid for your room. What would it, you know, but, and there's no waiters or waitresses except for a person will come around and refill your water
Oh,
for
you know what? So there's like,
But
you
then, but
do,
if
you
you
do
want
pay for
something,
it.
you go to the counter and you go get
You are
whatever
paying
you
for it.
want. The
You're talking
breakfast
about like
is
Holiday Inn breakfast.
Well, all right. So no,
exactly free breakfast,
it
free
could
breakfast
apply.
with your room. Yeah.
It could apply because it would apply to the workers. Now you said there aren't going to be as many because it's
Right.
more automated, but
Right.
there are a few. And
Yes.
so as long as they had, they were, a brand or had a common way of doing business,
Yeah.
then, and they had 30 or more of these franchises
Across the country. Yeah.
throughout the country. And I don't think it's just franchises, although they talk about franchises a lot.
Ooh.
I'm going to guess that if it's even a corporate structure, I'm going to guess this will apply, but they really do talk about franchises very specifically throughout. So I might be wrong on that. But regardless, if you're a franchise, definitely if you're a franchise and you have 30 or more businesses open under your franchise flag, then that's all it takes. And then, these will these, and it's only good in California. So you can go to Arizona and it's not going to be in place there.
Yeah.
But California has a lot of people, so you want to be there.
And it's a tourism destination. It's like
Right.
some of the there was is it Angelo's? Angelo's has the best burgers in Oceanside, dude. I'm just giving them a plug. I'll give you one. I remember when I was vegan.
I've never been.
And then, no, I'm serious. Like I remember being vegan and I just one day I needed to just and my boyfriend, our bass player, said, "That's it. Come with me. We're going." And he's like, "I want to see your face as you eat this burger." And I was like, "Here, the whole burger, that burger was the best burger on the planet." But Angelo's is a good chain. I mean, they have two, at the one by the harbor and one as you drive in from Carlsbad on 101. They're a cool chain.
Okay.
And I wonder how many they have. So this will affect them. This bill that you're talking
Well, if
about.
they have 30, again, if they hit that
I
magic
don't know
number,
if they have 30, but they should.
Wow.
They're so damn good. It's like, it's like real meat.
now I'm gonna have to go up there. I do go
And
by.
it's big. It's a big patty. It's like a big it's like real onions. Like it's good, man. Dude, I'm getting hungry. I'm looking at that fries. I can't help
I'm
it.
starved. French fries and a burger.
I know.
And bacon, the best bacon.
It's
burger
the all-American.
Like
this is the all-American food. Bacon burger with cheese and bacon burger, French fries, and a milkshake.
But now listen. So they were really good, but it's interesting what Nancy says about the hotels, because I can bet you I wonder about, I just know corporate books that there's like Marriott's and all of this. They have a restaurant, like you go in and you can get your fresh fruit and you can get your stuff as you're going to your conference, whatever. But there's these specific restaurants inside these hotels.
Well, the
and
people
I can
cooking the food.
But I'm almost guessing it could be over Marriott, but I'm almost going to guess that the Marriott has like a separate chain, not necessarily a franchise, but they're going to have a restaurant chain. Well, then it is a franchise because the Marriott is a franchise.
Because
franchises are a little different. That means, you have a franchise agreement with separate business entities. So, a franchisee can be anyone. It could be me, it could be you. When you say, I want to buy this franchise, it usually costs money to get in. And then once you're in, you're a franchisee. So that's a franchise.
Yeah.
I think the question you're probably really getting at is, well, what if it's not a franchise? And this is one it's a new law and I've just read about it, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But I was just thinking, well, what about one that's not a franchise, but it has 30 places? It's big.
Exactly.
Is this not going to cover these fast food workers? Now, they have to be fast food workers. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
So to be a fast food restaurant, I got to read this.
Okay.
They have to do business. They have to provide food in the following way. In disposable containers for immediate consumption, either on or off the premises, with limited or no table service, to customers who order or select items and pay before they eat. So if you meet those criteria, in the places you're talking about, I'm going to say it's probably will be regulated. Now, one question would be, well, what if it's not a franchise? Because they really do spend a ton of time in that AB257 talking about franchises. So maybe it only applies to franchise, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And we'll just have to see.
I think
This is going to
if
be
once
interesting.
if it goes through and it applies to franchises, it will down the road, no matter what, apply to anybody who has 30 establishments.
Yeah, because what I was going to say about like the hotels,
I
I
think that
bet
makes more
you,
sense.
I bet you they
Mm.
have a different umbrella within their corporate structure that it's a separate business, not necessarily a franchise, but so like the Marriott has their
But
restaurant
a
inside.
lot of them
I
are
bet you,
franchises.
but
A lot of the
not the
hotels
Marriott.
themselves are. No,
But
not the Marriott.
yeah, but well,
a lot of
no,
them are.
those are franchises. Half of the hotels that we stay in brand hotels are owned by
Mm.
people that bought into a franchise and they have to pay
Mhm.
tens of thousands of dollars every single month for their licensing fee and a percentage of the bookings because they go through the big, if
Mhm.
you're Holiday Inn, you go to holidayinn.com. Every time you book through holidayinn.com, Holiday Inn itself makes a
Makes them
percentage
tons of
from
money.
the hotelier who is your business owner. So it's a really, and it's tons of money. And
Mhm.
so you have to, if you're going to get a franchise, and that's why you'll see someone like suddenly they're a Holiday Inn, now they're a Comfort Inn. Like and it'll be like, why is this such a big Comfort Inn? Well, they got tired of paying the Holiday Inn fees because I'm serious.
Well, they're huge.
We've
Yeah,
done too
I see what
much
you're
of
saying.
this stuff. It's kind of crazy,
Sure.
but
But
if
don't they have
a
lawyers
restaurant,
there?
but there's a restaurant
Like-
when they have a hotel like the Marriott, they have a specific restaurant with a name on the inside and stay at
Mhm.
this restaurant. So I wonder, some of them will like lease out a restaurant space to someone, but I'm talking about the really
Right,
big,
that happens
big,
too.
big brands that I wonder if the Marriott itself, if it's like a whenever I want to know, I want to see their books. If they have a separate business
Mhm.
for the restaurant, you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
it's even,
no.
you know what I mean? That like
I would guess they would, but
two different
yeah, I don't know
licenses.
how they do. I don't
Yeah,
know how they
I
actually
know.
do it.
Well, we always
But
go down a
remember, they
rabbit
still have
hole,
to qualify for this to apply. They still have to qualify as a fast food restaurant.
fast food.
So it's
Yeah.
like you pay first,
Mhm.
might sit down, but there's no table service. You get it in a
See, a
a
Marriott does that.
container.
Exactly.
Marriott does
So-
that.
If they do that, then it sounds like this could apply. And again, is it a franchise or not? Not sure if that's required. If a corporation could have the same structure but just not franchise out, I'm going to guess it makes sense that it would apply to that kind of situation too. But I don't know.
It's, when you pay first, as soon as you book your hotel room and you pay for it before you arrive or as you arrive, you've already paid first for your free
Okay,
meal,
fair enough.
which is,
But the Marriott
included.
is not a free meal. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
There's ones
well,
who
some are,
charge.
but
Yeah.
a lot of them have free
Breakfast.
breakfast. It's not a restaurant. You could walk in anytime. It's only free breakfast, but we know the cost of the breakfast is going to be in your hotel fee, and you paid your hotel room first. So you paid first, you walk in, you serve yourself from a counter. There are people working behind the counter. As people take food, they replace the food.
Wipe tables down.
They wipe tables
Mhm.
down and they may pour you a glass of water, but the rest of it is pretty much self-serve. And you can get it, well, they're in styrofoam boxes, unless you take from the plate counter where there's warmed plates and silverware. You pick it up yourself, take it to your table. If you ask for styrofoam to put it to go, they'll do that. So
Well, no,
It's
it all
not-
depends. Each
Styrofoam's
restaurant is
gonna-
different.
The
Yeah.
styrofoam, I don't think is going to matter that much because
No.
McDonald's uses a paper bag.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So
the
if you have a
styrofoam-
plate that you carry, now here's the one that might get you is they could take it out. It says one of the
Yeah.
requirements is you can either eat it in or out. Well, you can't
Right.
take a plate out, probably.
No,
no, you
but a
can't
lot
take
of
the plate
like,
out.
But that's what I was
But
trying to say.
you-
The Marriott is
Yeah.
different, Nancy. Like
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
there's the Holiday Inn where you get your breakfast, and it is
Yeah.
on a paper plate, not necessarily a
Yeah.
plate, depending. And each place is different. But like the Marriott, they have
Mhm.
restaurants, breakfast places where you could go in. I
It's a
want my
real
fruit, and you
restaurant.
pay according. And it's like it's designed for, yeah, you can lounge around
Yeah.
a little bit. There's little tables, And they have bars and Marriott's too. It's pretty cool. But
Yeah,
anyway,
they're
that's not going to
different.
be part
They're
of this. But
different.
well, there is. It's like right around the corner.
Mhm.
But they will make it for you to go. They'll give it
Yeah.
to you in a baggie to go. And a lot of these hotel, like the Holiday Inn, all of that, if you're in a conference or
Well, that's
you're flying
interesting.
out,
Yeah.
they always give you breakfast in a bag. We've had tons of breakfast in
Mhm.
the bags, and quite frankly, they're better. Oopsie. But yeah, the breakfast in the bag is cool. Like you get little muffins and all kinds of good stuff you're not supposed to eat. But apples, they always give you an apple, but you
Well, if they
get a
give you the
breakfast in the bag.
option to take it out, and that's
Mhm.
just, that might work. Again, this hasn't
Yeah,
passed
This is the
yet.
beginning, but
It certainly hasn't been tested yet,
I
but
bet you
yeah,
this is
I
going
see
to,
a-
this
a-
passes. it's
That's a
gonna go-
gray area.
It's
This
going
is
to
a
be one
good
of
gray
those
area.
that another industry like this kind of hotel thing, hotel
Mhm.
workers, I bet you hotel workers are going to be next after the fast
Yeah.
food workers.
Yeah.
I really feel like
oh,
that's
could
gonna be
easily.
a secondary.
Yeah, no,
I
this
think
is
they're
just-
related.
I
Yeah.
agree. This is just the beginning of it, I
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah.
This is, California wants to make this a trend. And so,
Mm-hmm.
normally, if this passes, normally states will start
Yeah.
doing this too. Some states will,
Yeah.
and maybe it'll be a whole across the country thing eventually. But you're right. If it
Mhm.
starts catching on, it's not going to stop with fast
No,
food.
it's not.
By the way, Angelo's has really good onion rings too.
Why are you representative for Angela?
I don't know,
I need
but
to
I
start
haven't eaten
taking
there
notes
forever.
about Angelo.
I'm sorry, but it's been years. I hope they're
I've just
still
been
there.
listening, and I may forget something. So
But
Well,
they
we're
have
headed
really
to
good onion
California
rings.
next, so maybe we'll have to stop by.
I don't know how far they go, but all I know is
yeah, we can meet at
Oceanside.
Angelo's.
Yeah,
Perfect.
let's meet at Angela's. Sounds good.
It's right by the harbor. Yeah.
There you go.
The harbor's cool. Angela, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
but now,
Oceanside's
Yeah.
cool. I like Oceanside.
Yeah.
oh, has
Yeah.
that changed? That town has really changed up for tourism.
Mm.
It's amazing how they have
They've
worked
cleaned it up. They've cleaned
big
it up.
time, and how they've, because Camp
Yeah.
Pendleton's there. So if Camp Pendleton's there, they're going to have good fast food, period. Even
Yeah.
now, wait a minute. Fast food is on
That's true.
military. Okay, wait. All right, you're military. Okay. So
I was
there's the
military.
well,
Not
but
now.
you can, well, you were on there, but when you were on bases have their own Pizza Huts and McDonald's and everything on
Yeah.
the base.
Yeah. Yeah.
So would the franchise thing be affecting, do they have to abide by the same laws, or could you represent?
Now you get to an area of law that actually I know really well.
Mm.
I wrote a book about this. I have it right behind me. And it's called Enclave Law. That's the easiest way to label
You were
it.
saying a book. You went away a bit there a second. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. This guy wrote a book, and he used me as an example of how this might affect civil law, because he's really writing. He worked for the U.S. Attorney. He was writing mostly about criminal law. But then I brought him in as an expert in my case and said, well, what do you think about this situation? Okay. So let me start real fast. I don't want to get too far off, but Enclave is a special section in the Constitution that talks about basically military installations and what law may govern them. And over the years, the Supreme Court has said various things, and it's just like Wild West in Enclave law. So the question that Enclave law tries to answer is, whose law applies?
Wow.
And so if you're on base, that could be a huge Enclave question to ask.
Oh, yeah.
So Pizza Hut, or McDonald's,
It's gonna
this whole
be-
thing could change, and it's like, okay, but on the base, this is different.
It's
Because you have
different.
martial law, so martial law is a little different.
Could be the same. It depends on how that base was formed. I mean, it's crazy stuff. I can't get into all the details.
Wow.
So all the
Oh.
bases are going to be different.
Yeah. Oh man, I had this class action years ago,
Yeah.
and it was security guards, and I was on plaintiff's side in that one, and security guards, and they had a post all over the county, everywhere, lots of places.
Yeah.
And some places were governed by California law. Some places were governed not by California law, by some type of de facto federal law that doesn't really apply, because federal law doesn't have wage and hour law mostly. Anyway, so it can be like a crazy mess.
Wow.
You know.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
I've been through it.
And when you talk about security law, that's really cool. So everyone, our new magazine, our new baby is out, called Quality of Life magazine. And it's about personal growth, personal success, and professional success. And Ward's article on the new California laws for 2022 is in there. And I think just a page or two over
Mhm.
is our security insider. And it's
Ooh.
with, Fred
Yeah.
Gardner. You guys are talking about
Yeah.
security law? Honest to God, and he's out in Dallas. And we met him and he's telling us stories. Like when we met him, we're like having a glass of wine and he's just, Nancy and I are sitting there floored. But he
Mhm.
does insurance for security agents, for personal and private investigators. And they were like private investigators. And he
Yeah,
got into this
cool.
whole thing. And so, of course, now, you've got to come on a podcast. You've got to go listen. It's the wildest, craziest tales.
Mhm.
And he talks about how, like,
Mhm.
security agents, they're new on the job and they're bored in a motel and turn around, like, let's play Russian roulette with their guns and shoot. No, seriously. No, no. And what a security agent can
That's
and
really
cannot do.
bored. Let
I
me
know.
That's
It's
really
like, what's
bored.
a bouncer versus a security agent? And then the whole world of
Mhm.
hacking and cyber security and all the
Mhm.
ransoms that are going on, like the big ransom attacks, like not like ransomware, but like
Ransom.
actual, like
Mhm.
we're going after you. I mean, at that time, that's when the fuel companies got nailed up in the Northeast, and no one could get gas because they were like, no, we're holding your oil or whatever it was at that. I think it was
Mhm.
last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then people like our friends in Asheville, to make the beer, lying in the roads, they're like, well, luckily we had gas. We got a store around the corner. We brew our own beer. We were fine.
Mhm.
But it's really, it's, the world is crazy, and security stuff like insurance
It's
versus,
interesting.
it's insane. Like
Mhm.
I encourage you to listen to it when you talk about that. Now I'm like, now
Mhm.
we're gonna have to put the two of you on a show and talk about,
That
okay,
just
security
exactly.
Enclave
agents,
law.
Mm.
enclave law, insurance,
Oh, cool.
security agents, and enclave law. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. No, we
Gosh.
got
But
to put
it
them
was in this
together.
case because San Diego has a patchwork of different enclaves, quote unquote
Mhm.
enclaves, and different law applies under different situations. There may be a California law may apply for limited purposes, and then not at all for others on the same site.
That's weird.
It's just
Dude,
crazy. It's crazy.
well, who knew where we were going to go with French fries today?
Wow.
But
Well,
no,
it could happen. I mean, you got the various franchises all over these bases, and
Mhm.
one may be under California law, one might not. Just
wow,
depends.
Wow.
Well, this
It
is
probably
fascinating,
depends
Ward.
on the base's stature too, because the military bases are different.
No,
They
that's what I'm
don't.
talking about. Military law.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah,
have,
that's what we're saying. This is,
Mm.
it's wow. So before you go,
Mm.
has things changed? Are you seeing, any lawsuits or any kind of grievances of, I know that California today, as we're recording, and so it could change again in 10 days or when this airs, California is today, you can, as of Wednesday, you can take your mask off in buildings except for
no,
schools. So
today,
yeah, as of today. So
as of today.
you can
And
be
I went to a
free.
restaurant for lunch, and they said you got to wear a mask inside. So not everyone has to follow it.
Oh, okay. So this
Oh
is,
yeah, for their business, they can do what they
oh, that's
want.
right. You're
Right.
not in Texas or Austin. Yeah, if you're in Austin, that might
No,
not work.
I'm not in Texas. Not
No,
last time
Texas,
I checked.
everyone's doing whatever they want, but
Yeah.
it's a different thing. But and
It's
so, have
interesting.
you seen anything change in regards to employees leaving and setting up their own thing or moving and shifting, just not going back to work? Anything kind of changed this way because of
Well,
COVID?
yeah, it's definitely an employee market right now, and so you see different businesses offering higher pay than minimum wage to attract workers. That's pretty common, and fast food industry is doing it actually.
I wonder about this bill coming in because of COVID and the lack of
Well,
workers.
that's the idea behind it. They said, we saw during the COVID pandemic that these people had to work on the front lines, had to get sick, exposed,
Mhm.
et cetera. And that's why they really brought it out. I mean,
Oh, wow.
well, ostensibly,
Mm.
why, the real purpose is to get some type of more control and have fast food workers treated in a more, I don't know, paternalistic way, let's call it that.
Mm.
So that's the real reason, but they did tie it to COVID. And that's why they call it partly the Recovery Act, recovery from COVID. And they even talk about it. Yeah,
Well,
it's talked about.
Then you could go to grocery store, people who work in the grocery stores.
There's fast food and
Because
grocery
they,
stores.
I mean, they weren't allowed to close. They were
Well-
an essential service, and
Yeah.
maybe they
Yeah.
need to have more money too.
Yeah, because grocery stores have fast food. You can get deli sandwiches at
Well, it's
Safeway.
not yeah, but I mean, it's just they had to go to work during COVID.
Well, all right. So if your question is, will this go to other sectors? I really think over the next 5-10 years, you're going to see it. I really think
wow.
they
Yeah.
have it in Europe, something really similar to this type of law in Europe.
Mhm.
And so I think you're going to see more of it.
Yeah,
Mm.
Yes.
I think so.
Awesome. Everyone, Ward's article is up
Mm.
on blendradioandtv.com. You can find his other articles and interviews there too. Stay tuned. Every fourth Wednesday, it's Wednesdays with Ward, and we get to have fun conversations. You never know where, and we do go down rabbit holes, but it's fun. It's
It's fun.
interesting. I mean, because like we were saying, I mean, you read a legal thing, and I'm like, and thank God you write in English. I'm like, okay, I get what Ward's talking about, but
Yeah.
like if I don't open a legal book, I'd be just like, just close it. I'm gonna go have a cocktail because there's no
Mm.
way. Like that's not happening for me. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
stupid, but that stuff is like, no. That's like reading an encyclopedia with medical terms. I'm not
Well,
doing that.
because they're trying
Well,
to
it's
cover
kinda fun.
every aspect of what could happen
I
in the
know.
shortest space possible.
Yeah.
And so they use words that it's like, what?
What? And then you have to have
What?
squiggly lines on things. What's up with who created the squiggly lines? Who did the little double essy things? Like who? What?
Well,
What?
that just means section. I think that's what you're referring to. It's
I
a
know,
section.
but why do we have to have the little, and the
'Cause
but
it's
who wants to
cute.
write out the whole word section? Just do
Yeah,
the
it's
single
No,
pretty.
word.
I don't. You're right. It's shorthand. It's cool. My
It's short-
computer
it is
doesn't
shorthand.
like it. My
Yeah.
computer does not like it. But
Oh, and let me tell you this though. Reading AB257 is way harder than reading my article.
guys,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Read Ward's
believe it.
article, and listen, when you do read it,
Mm.
have some French fries.
Yeah.
And
I
don't
like that.
forget Angelo's and Oceanside. I hope they're still open. My gosh, it's been a long time, but it's
Mm.
definitely fond, delicious memories. All right. So everyone keep up with Ward
Cool.
2. Go to bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. He doesn't always focus just on San Diego. He'll travel to San Francisco, right, Ward? He'll go anywhere in California.
Oh yeah, I'll go anywhere.
Cool.
Yeah. Ward will go. He likes to travel. All right. Thanks so much, Ward.
Thanks, Ward. That's
You're
fun.
welcome. Thank you.